Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. We will begin shortly as we have all the participants join. And please, as we do that, kindly take a moment to ensure that you are in a place with stable connection, just so that even as we get to the Q&A and through the whole webinar, you are able to actively participate. And then would also like for you to just introduce yourselves by sharing your name, organization, and where you're joining us from in the chat. Thank you. We'll just take one more minute and then we'll kickstart. And thank you all for joining. For those that are just joining us, once again, as we wait to begin the webinar, please take a moment to ensure that you've checked your internet for stability and use the chat to just introduce yourselves by sharing your name, organization, and where you're joining us from. We'll start in a few seconds. Over. Great, thank you all. Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening to all our participants joining us from the different parts of the world. My name is 𝐿𝐿𝐶𝐚𝐫 𝐒𝐞𝐫𝐢𝐞𝐵. I'm a senior consultant at Dev-Afrique, and I will be your moderator today. And I will be co-moderating with my colleague Chisanga, who will come in later to speak. I am very delighted to welcome you all on behalf of Dev-Afrique and the partnership, that's ESAWAS and GWOPA, to our third webinar series in the Sanitation Data and Operational Management Systems webinar series. And when we say data and operation management systems, we mean systems that enable utilities to define their key data needs, generate, analyze, and operationalize data for not just service delivery, but also internal and external performance management. We at Dev-Afrique are super excited to partner with the Eastern and Southern African Water Sanitation Association, Regulators Association, ESAWAS, and the Global Water Operators Partnerships Alliance, GWOPA, to deliver this webinar series. Our webinar series spotlights water and sanitation and data and operation management systems that are used across sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. Our agenda today will cover the following items. We'll have introduction and welcome, which is what we're doing now. Then we'll get into the hearing a little bit about the partnership, and then we'll have NAWASSCO present the ERP system, and then we'll take a short break of about 5 minutes just for everyone to take a pause, grab some tea, stretch a little, and then we'll get into our question and answer, and then we'll hear a little bit about the next steps, and then we will close. But before we proceed, super important to give a few housekeeping notes. Just to note that this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with all participants afterwards. And please keep your microphones muted throughout the presentation until we get to the question and answer session, where you'll be given a chance to ask your questions or to write them in the chat. However, we also are aware that you may have questions during the course of the presentation. So just to ensure that you don't lose sight of those questions, feel free to type those questions into the chat as the presentation is going on. And my colleagues who are on standby will collect all the questions and pull them together for the dedicated question and answer session. and please feel free to engage through the chat and keep it active. So the webinar series is part of the broader public service data systems, which is landscaping, learning, and technical assistant project, an initiative and projects run by Dev-Afrique with support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which aims to strengthen sanitation data systems across sub-Saharan Africa. And as mentioned, the webinar series is part of the landscaping and tools mapping work efforts that Dev-Afrique is running. We are hosting the webinar series with the aim of promoting shared learning and best practices and enhance the use of sanitation data systems for performance management and service delivery within utilities and municipalities. And the webinar series targets stakeholders across the water and sanitation sector that covers regulators, utilities, municipals, development partners, and other institutions that are working across the water and sanitation value chain. And as you may have noted, the webinar link or registration link comes with some supplementary material that you could read beforehand just to get a sense of what platforms will be discussed. And the material will also be shared post this webinar just so that you could have a follow-up read on that. We're so delighted to have partnered with Nakuru Water and Sanitation Services Company Limited, NAWASSCO of Kenya, who will spotlight the NAWASSCO ERP system, an innovative tool that has revolutionized water and sanitation management in Nakuru, Kenya. And we have an exciting lineup of presenters from the Nakuru team that will share their learnings and insights on how their system has enhanced operational efficiency and service delivery in Nakuru. As mentioned earlier, Dev-Afrique Development Advisors has partnered with the Eastern and Southern African Water and Sanitation Regulators Association, ESAWAS, and the Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance, GWOPA, to deliver the webinar series. And we are honored to have with us on this webinar Ridwan Chorunke, the Principal Advisor at Dev-Afrique, Yvonne Magawa, Executive Secretary of ESAWAS, and Shobhana Srinivasan, Program Officer at UN Habitat GWOPA. They will share a little bit about the partnership and how the partnership is driving improvements in the sanitation and water data systems across the region. Ridwan?
Yeah, thanks very much, Shuko. Really exciting to be here again. At Dev-Afrique, as you know, over the past couple of webinars, we've tried as much as possible to drive, cross-learning when it comes to, best learning experiences on public data systems. Last session we had an engagement with Adams. The first, we looked at, the Lusaka water system, and at the end of the day, just like we heard during the last webinar, it's not just about the data systems tool, right? It's really about the operating systems and how they're managed and reported, and looking at how things can essentially be replicated across the global south, more especially sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm super excited to have with me Yvonne, who's the Executive Secretary and a leader in water and sanitation across the continent, but also having Shobhana from UN Habitat driving the GWOPA initiative and alliance. But that said, I think with Dev-Afrique, like you rightly mentioned, Shibo, our goal is to act as an enabler to institutions, to utilities, to associations, who are actually the driving force in sanitation, across the continent. And one of the work we're doing with the support of the Gates Foundation is to really drive, improvement in public data systems, especially in non-sewered sanitation, right? So we have an additional 10 learning series spotlighting other operating systems and data systems, across the continent and beyond. And I'm super excited once again with our collaboration with ESAWAS and GWOPA to bring together the expertise and the resources that will significantly impact the water and sanitation. I know we're pressed for time, so we'll pass to Yvonne, who is a leader within the space and the executive secretary of ESAWAS for our remarks, and onwards to Shobana from GWOPA.
Thank you very much, Ridwan, and thank you, Shuko, also for the introduction. And also thanks to Shobana for this collaboration. So as ESAWAS is a network of water supply and sanitation regulators. Our focus is continent-wide, looking at making sure that countries have effective regulation. And part and parcel of this is supporting the strengthening of public data systems. For regulation, you cannot regulate without data. So it's very critical for us to ensure that there is reliable and accurate data that is coming from the local level. So with that support that we are placing to countries, it is important for us to have partnerships such as this one that allows us to leverage advanced data systems to monitor, evaluate, and improve service delivery across the African countries. So we're really proud to be part of this webinar series, and we hope that we can increase participation through you to the rest of your institutions so that we are able to synergize efforts in improving data towards meeting the targets for the sector. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to you, Shobana.
Thanks, Yvonne. Thank you, everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's joined the webinar today. I work for GWOPA, which is the Global Water Operator Partnerships Alliance. That's an entity or an international network within UN Habitat. And GWOPA has existed for over 15 years now, and the core of the alliance is to provide a voice for the utilities and operators in the UN related to water and sanitation, and also look at water operator partnerships that are non-for-profit partnerships between water operators and other various stakeholders to do peer learning and knowledge exchange. So GWOPA also has a huge community of practice with over 1,500 members from primarily from utilities and also from other constituencies that are working towards exchanging knowledge on different topics, any challenges that they face as operators from day-to-day lives. Taking the success of WOPs, the Water Operator Partnerships, GWOPA is currently embarking on looking at focusing primarily on sanitation as the SWOPs, called Sanitation Focused Water Operator Partnerships. And also Bill and Melinda Gates supports Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation supports UN Habitat to look at strengthening data systems all over at national country level in 2 countries, both in Kenya and Nepal, and also with GWOPA primarily focusing on how to scale up and design better sanitation focused water operator partnerships. With this, I request everyone to join the alliance to ensure that we work together and have more exchange as operators and other stakeholders working with operators on a peer-to-peer basis. Thank you. And over to you, Shuko.
Thank you, Shobana, Ridwan, and Yvonne for sharing those insights. Super exciting to hear about the partnership and how we are planning on improving public data systems, specifically water and sanitation in sub-Saharan Africa and the globe as a whole. We will now move to the next phase, next part of our presentation, which is the NAWASSCO ERP system, where we'll learn about how the system is used to improve decision-making, service delivery, and overall performance management. And then we have an exciting team of presenters. So we have Timothy Wanjohi, Timothy, who's the on-site sanitation lead at NAWASSCO in Kenya. And then we have Anthony Kamar, who's the ICT manager at NAWASSCO. And then we have Erastus Minor, who's the GIS analyst. They will provide an overview of how the ERP system has been integrated into Nakuru's water and sanitation operations and how it helps to drive their work more efficiently. And so, Anthony, I hand over to you and the team.
Thank you very much. This is Anthony. I am the ICT manager, as you've heard. We will give you the journey that we've gone through as the company in adopting this technology from 2019 to now. But we'll also go a bit back and give you the history of where we came from. So the agenda of the day, Shuko, is one will give you an NAWASSCO overview. We'll give you an overview about what we've done in the company. We will show you the system functions. We will show you the architecture. We will show you the operations overview. We'll show you the sanitation landscape. Then we will delve into system integration. And then we will go into the enhancing sanitation landscape. Then after that, we will do a demo, especially on GIS. So if we go to the next slide, just a bit about the company. We are a publicly owned private company formed under the Companies Act in Kenya, and we are fully owned by a county government called Nakuru. Our vision, just briefly, is to be the lead provider of safely managed water and sanitation solutions in Kenya. A bit of core values that guide our operations here: professionalism, integrity, customer focus, innovation and creativity, and teamwork. So our services that we offer as a company: one, we provide clean and safe, affordable water services. Two, we have an accredited lab that we use to monitor water quality, drinking water quality. That one will become, we'll show you how we scored on that one. Three, we provide sanitation services along the value chain. And four, we own a subsidiary called NAWASSCO that handles fecal sludge and converts them into usable products. So on the next slide, we will show you about the performance that we've done as a company. This is, if you look at the lower part of the screen, that is a live portal of our regulator in Kenya called WASREB, and they record performance, and it's a public domain. So as a company, we serve about 575,000 people. Out of that, we have 94% of water coverage and about 48,500 water connections. So if you look at the portal, just underneath the page, you will see how we performed in the year 2022-2023. The areas that are in orange are the areas that we're supposed to improve on. Non-revenue water, we are at 29. Sector benchmark in Kenya is 25, 20 and below. And also we have that personnel expenditure of an O&M is 29. And the rest we did pretty well. And this is a good point to mention that we led in the overall ranking of water companies in Kenya. We were ranked first last year. So in the next slide, I will show you the ERP architecture. Sorry, I will show you the journey that we've traveled as a department or as a company in terms of adopting information systems. So before 2002, we were basically having a D-based payroll system. The billing was manual. December 2023, we acquired QuickBooks. 2004, we got some Sage to assist us in accounting, and we also set up an Infomix, a system based on Infomix that assisted us with billing. 2010, we adopted the mobile money payment, so we got rid of the manual payment for water. 2012, we moved into mobile meter reading. 2013, we moved to cloud from an on-premise system. And 2019, and this is the change for us, this is where the main change happened in our journey, is we consolidated all these silos from 2002 to 2013 into one ERP that is built on Microsoft Dynamics, supported by a PicPay ERP that handles our processes. Going forward, we are focused on customer-facing apps, and we're also advancing in information security, backups, and business continuity. So just to delve more into the system, on the next slide, we will show you just the architecture of how the system looks like. So on the client side, our customers are able to interact with the system using apps, computers, phones, USSD. The data is sent into a security layer where SSL certificates and firewalls are installed. At the server level, we have the Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics handling our internal processes in the organization. And we have the PicPay, which hosts the billing, CRM, and technical. I will show you those in the next slide. And then at the end, you will see backup and cloud backup. And then we have also some external APIs where banks and mobile service providers connect to our system. So just now internally, how the system looks like, you will realize that Microsoft Dynamics and PicPay sit in the middle. You will see an extension of GIS, which is directly integrated to PicPay. You will see on your left, you will see there's a Margi app, that is the customer app that they use to get our services. Meter reading and billing, that is the commercial section, goes into PicPay. Technical and CRM goes into PicPay. Bank integrations and M-Pesa, all the payments go into PicPay. And on the extreme right, this is now the internal office functions. You will see the HR services, finance, in terms of impressed requisitions, asset management, landing payroll, and stores sitting on Dynamics. So they're all integrated in the middle. So on the next page, I will show you how the system looks like live. So you will see that is the landing page for the PicPay ERP. You will see that in the middle is PicPay, and then there's an extension of GIS, then there's an extension of billing, there's an extension of technical, Margi app, and self-service. So when you land on our information system, you will land on this. So when you click on Margi app, for example, what you see on your screen is a screenshot of the app. You will see the functions that we have. You can request for a browser, you can pay for your water, you can buy bulk water and all that. Next click. You will see on billing, I'm sorry if the text is too small, but on billing, the system has the following capabilities. You will see a tab up there on revenue enhancement. This is about a dashboard that shows operations and performance. You will see some billing. You will see account management, payments, NRW. Those sit at the billing. Next, when you click on the technical tab, you will see the laboratory that I mentioned earlier. You will see energy audits because we use 95% of our water is groundwater, so energy audits for us is very critical. We have a production module, sub-module, we have an NRW, electromechanical, and all that. On the next one, CRM, this is where all our customer complaints go to and are logged and are issued with tickets, and is managed all of it from here. It manages both technical and commercial complaints. GIS, this is the newest integration to the system. So this is used basically to map our resources, and this will be explained in the coming slides. On the last one, on self-service, so what we designed the system to do is to have a self-service where all human resource functions are clustered into one. So when you go into that, an employee can apply for training, apply for traveling, apply for appraisal, all that housed into one. So from here, I think we will proceed to our next presenter. Thank you very much.
My name is Timothy 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐴, as Shuka had mentioned. I'll be looking at the sanitation landscape, but I'll have a brief overview of the ERP operations so that you can look at the sanitation, how we are looking at it. One, we manage all our monthly billing and payments through the system, as my colleague Anthony has mentioned. And with that, that is what we'll go through one of the tasks that we do. For instance, how billing happens. So one task is assigned to an officer. Let's move to an officer. We'll be assign a task and then show how that task will get up to the meter reading. That is what I'm saying. The task will be assigned to a field officer via the system. When it is assigned, for instance, it's a meter reading, the meter reading is assigned to a meter reader. When that task is assigned, we are able to assign a task. Let's assign that task. When you assign that task, it can be downloaded either online or offline to the field officer's application, mobile phone, where now from his mobile phone, he performs the activity on the workload that he has been provided for the day, completes the assigned activity, then sends back to the system. But there are sets of verification across that verifies these operations before we finalize on, for instance, an invoice to a client. That is in general how normal tasks are assigned. Now, when we get in the sanitation landscape and on data collection, I'd like first to give a brief history of where we've come from, because we were formed in 2003. But when we are establishing this company, we established Nakuru Water as Nakuru Water and Sanitation, yet the sector had not moved. We focused mainly on sewer. We were not very focused on on-site sanitation, but we are trying to manage disposal of exhaust services for disposal of waste, but we are not managing where this waste is generated. All along, in 2012, we thought of working on safely managed sanitation. And with partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates and GIZ Foundation, we piloted upscaling basic sanitation for the urban poor, whereby we looked at now the whole sanitation value chain. And then we are trying to look at influencing construction of toilets. With this one, we are using a subsidy program, people to construct toilets. Then when the toilets get filled up, we look at collection and transportation of sludge. And then we look at professionalizing the business so that we can provide safely managed. In 2019, there was a presidential directive that shifted, or executive order, that shifted the sanitation mandate from the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, where Nakuru Water is domiciled. And then from that, we needed to have a robust, start thinking about this data, because the data that we are dealing with was purely on sewer and a little bit of exhaust services, but that we are looking at the whole sanitation value chain. And therefore, with that, before we even look at the sanitation data, we had to look at the enabling environment in terms of what are the legal, the legislative frameworks that exist. We started by developing Nakuru County Water and Sanitation Act, a policy for sanitation, and for data collection, we looked at policies on data policy. So now we can get into the sanitation data landscape, how we do it. We are using a blend of the ERP now after looking at the background and open source tools. For instance, we are using mWater, Collect. And why we are this, if you look at the water side, it has been there for long. Structures has been established. But if you look at the on-site sanitation, especially, we are getting into a new spectrum. At capture and containment, this is where we are looking at the household sanitation facilities. You cannot be able to manage if you don't know what you have. And therefore, here is where we are using the open source tools, 𝐸MWater. We've dwelled on the 𝐸MWater. We developed the schema, whereby we define what is the type of data you are collecting. That one, you can see that is kind of what the 𝐸MWater we are using, whereby we look at the presence of the facility, what is the attributes at capture, what are the attributes at containment, and we try to get the data on disposal of especially grey water and solid waste, because if we don't manage that again, that will get up to our environment or will get up to our sewer systems, then cause pollution. So with that, 𝐸MWater is a standalone. It's not within the ERP. We have to download that, reprocess that in Excel, package the data for upload in GIS. I'll not dwell on that. My colleague who is looking at the GIS and uploads will be dwelling into that. So for now, when we come to collection, collection and conveyance, we have two ways. We have the manual pit emptying, and we have the mechanized and the non-mechanized. Manual pit emptying is non-mechanized. We are working with the informal groups or the pit emptiers who are not very well coordinated, and therefore here we are still working on physical forms, whereby we are giving them for them to assess these pits. Sometimes we don't know the conditions of those pits, and therefore we have a lot of data being collected manually. Then after collecting and assessing the costing, because the costing is still a challenge, we now push that to invoicing using our ERP system. Therefore, when an MNT gets to the fields, he'll collect that data, we'll send that data to our customer care office. The customer care office will generate an invoice. The invoice will be paid, will be sent to the client will pay, and then we can provide the service. Now the exhauster, because all the exhausters within Nakuru city are privately operated, we'll need first to have their registration. This is more of a physical, because we need to look at what the vehicle looks like. The application of the discharge permit is done physically through a form. Then we process that to the discharge permit. Then we invoice through the ERP system again. Once this is done, we've been able now to automate that, whereby we are providing, we can be able to get all the licensed or the exhausters that have been permitted to dispose of our treatment plant. Then at the treatment plant, the person who is monitoring, the officer who is monitoring these operations will just need to log into the application. We've integrated that through a mobile application, can be able to track where is this truck getting from. But however, currently we are still work in progress. We are relying on the information from the exhauster operator to provide us with the information, if you look at the volume of sludge and the source of sludge. But for you to be allowed to be disposed of or to dispose of at our treatment plant, the mobile app can be able to inform. The officer can be able to get the information from the mobile app and let the exhaust into our treatment plant. Next is my colleague on GIS who will be looking at the systems integration. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Erastus Maina. I'm the GIS expert for the NAWASSCO, and I will be taking you through the system integration and how, as a company, we have been able to automate most of the processes. So next slide, please. It has been a journey where we have come from the manual process, and the goal was to automate most of these processes and have from the field officers, we are able to minimize the use of paper, and we can have data in a way that it's able for someone to derive some insight from it. Because if you have a system, the beauty with the system is that it's able to condition, you are able to have more credible data. And with time, we have been able to bring most of the processes together into several submodules. And in this case, I will not delve more into what my colleagues have gone through. So I want to just mention that from the customer side, they are able to launch their complaints via several channels. we have the app where they can be able to, on those complaints, they can also make calls, and we have our customer care team who records those complaints. And after they record these complaints, now the integration part comes where we have now the GIS side, and we have now the PicPay that records these complaints. So we have the map for visualization where you are able to see like where are these complaints coming from. Like what you can see there on the map is that where you have the red dot, it's more of like a hotspot of various complaints. So as on a management side, we can be able to make various decisions from looking at this. And then it is very easy for you to know where you need to put your resources when you have such a representation. And also across various departments, we have made sure that all the field operations and all field activities have been geocoded, so that anything that is being reported out there has to be accompanied with a location aspect of it, so that we are able to map these incidences on the ground. So for sanitation issues, especially for the offsite, we have the trucks and also the field officers who are mandated to do the blockages. They are able to report back on where these blockages are happening, and also the customers are able to do the same thing. And these cuts are close because also through visualization, you can be able to now look at how services is being delivered, especially to those vulnerable areas like the low-income areas. And by use of the integration where we can be able to get the building data, and also you can get the demographics, we can be able to map that, and we can see where we need to intensify probably or address, where we need to target, where we have the bulk of the population. And also something we have tried to do as a measure also to make sure that we understand our infrastructure is to make sure that as a workflow is to have all the proposed projects have to go via the GIS side, so that now we can be able to connect between the financing part and the works being done on the ground, and we can be able to monitor up to the final stage. We can have the as-built and what is proposed. So even in terms of contractor, we are able to monitor the works that the external people who are giving us services, what they are doing. And also if we want to understand where we are having a demand of our services, especially when we talk of water supply, whenever we have a customer who comes to apply for a connection, we have that request assigned to a field officer who go out there using a mobile phone. He's able to do a survey and reports back. Then we are able to see, is it viable, or do we have the infrastructure or the resources to serve that person? And with time, if you have all that now combined with various other data, you are able now to make a decision, even in terms of planning for projects, which areas are you having more requests in terms of water or any other service. And also, the GIS platform do provide the dashboard. This is a quick preview of the big data that is being housed within the ERP system. So we have done an integration to make sure that we can be able now to visualize various thematic areas. Because like if you can see, when we talk of non-revenue, or when we talk of the meter reading, we would want to, by a snap, you can be able to tell how is the progress happening, where are we having this high consumption. And also you can be able to see the various complaints and how also they are being addressed. Also, it's a way to visualize this task and people who are doing how they are acting on various complaints. Now I want to be inclined more now on the side of sanitation data, where we have, as my colleague mentioned, is that we are using mostly the open source data collection applications like the mWater. And after this, we get this data. We need to pre-process this data. We need to download it from that one platform and put it into a different platform. Then we can upload it and we can do a visualization of this. And what you will note is that when we are talking of the mWater and those data collection tools and the analysis tool, because also it comes with its own inbuilt analysis, its own inbuilt analysis system. is that this is a standalone system. We cannot be able to marry this data with our existing data. And after we have corrected that data, during the preparation of this data correction, we put various logics just to make sure we maintain the integrity of the data that we are getting out there in the field. And after we have done the data correction, we have pre-processed that. For now, what we are able to do is just now upload this data into the ArcGIS platform, and now we can be able to present or prepare some nice dashboards, as you can see. And also it was mentioned that for the exhausters, that part we have been able to integrate because that is riding on the ERP system. So if you look at this dashboard, you can be able to see the number of registered exhausters and how they have been performing in terms of trips. And these dashboards just give you a preview of how the situation is out there. By just a look at the screen, you can be able to tell how Nakuru is. After now, also to bring in the aspect of the three systems that we have: the 𝐶PE, the self-service that is built on Microsoft Dynamics, and now the GIS, is that the integration part is that you can be able to see all the invoices raised from the 𝐶PE system. The finance people have an access of this data. They don't have to kind of go and download and get this data. We have a seamless integration when it comes to that. You will apologize for the blurring of those because issues of data security. That is the reason why we did that. But you can clearly see that we are able to get for the already working system on the ERP side, that is the 𝐶PE ERP. We can be able also to bring this on the Dynamics, and also we can be able to have a visual of the same on the GIS side. And now looking at trying to see at what we are missing for us to have a world-class kind of system that is able to meet our needs, is that for this standalone system, when it comes to emptying and profiling the capture using the mWater and other standalone softwares, where you need to download, we pre-process and upload, then you can visualize this data. You will realize that we are missing the aspect of having an integration where we have the data correction being within one system, that we limit then the human interaction with this data. Because the moment we say you want to download and put it in another platform, a lot of things can happen. But looking at for the exhauster services, where we have a working app that only works up to where the exhauster truck goes to dump the waste at our wastewater. So we have someone at the gate who records the details. So we are able to know how many trucks, and he's able to verify if this exhauster truck has been registered, has it been approved, then also record where this waste is coming from. So this part of integration, we are able to visualize this on the ArcGIS side. Now, another gap to identify with us is that within our service area, we need to profile all our customers and have a way for us to be able to connect or to identify. So not all our customers are registered within our system. We currently only having those who are registered with our water accounts. But when we talk of the on-site sanitation, these customers are not within our system. So also we need to bridge that gap and have a way to have them in our system with very unique identifiers. And again, we need to have this record in a schema that is more dynamic, that is able to capture the journey of of how this person is progressing from either on-site. If there was no on-site facility, if this person had no access to any sanitation facility, then how has this person over time, because we'll be dealing with them, how is this person transitioning from one point to the other? Because the overall goal for those people who we are able to sewer, then at what point was he on site, and at what point did he migrate to the offsite? So having such a database that is able to have those update functions, that makes it dynamic, that you can be able to add, because currently what you are maintaining is more of a static database where you profile, then you have that, but you would want to have something that you are able to add data on it, that if I go maybe 3 weeks later, this person has been able to move from a traditional pit to maybe a water closet. I'm able to add this, and you, at any given point, you can be able to take the system back, query back, and see where this person moved from. Looking now at that journey where we were on more manual, where at one point also we had to use the handheld GPS to capture this data. Then we would have a booklet where you would write the other attributes. It was more manual. And at that point, what you wrote on the book and what you come to fill into, maybe into your Excel, and how also you connect the locational aspect from the handheld GPS and this, there were issues. Then we also tried to digitize these processes, where we adopted some of the open source technologies, as though partly we have been able to move, and still partly we are still at the more of manual stage, because you find that we have the water where you need human intervention to push it to another system. But if we had this kind of a seamless transition, then we would be really enhancing how we are managing this data. At one point, we used the QGIS. This is also another GIS platform, which is open source. That is, anyone can download it, and you can use it to visualize and map your infrastructure. And also there was the ODK, just trying to bridge in the aspect of having to put in the attributes in a different manual system, but having where you are able to capture the location and also capture the attributes in one, then you can be able to get an Excel without really having to enter any data. Then we are looking at how currently we are at a point where we want to optimize these systems. That's why we have bring in the ArcGIS, and also we are looking forward to now utilizing these ArcGIS field apps, because the ArcGIS or the GIS platforms does come with its field application, where we can be able to, from the field, you can be able to get this data in the DB. And one of the limitations we are having when on the ArcGIS side is it is limited to the number of users with the licensing. You have the advanced users, you have the person who can do now the actual manipulation of the data, which currently we are having one that can be simultaneously can be utilized at least by two users. And then also the issue of having a robust schema that is able now to capture the history or the journey of someone from on-site. We are able to see someone did not have a facility, then they have been able to get a facility, then they have been able to transition. And now as now we delve much into the on-site sanitation, we need a system that will be able to, even in terms of revis, we will be able to accommodate all this. Yes, also we are looking at where as a utility, where we want to be at the end of all this. If we're able to bridge this gap, we want we are foreseeing a system that has the aspect of data correction, the analysis part, and also the visualization within one platform, not having to get data from one point to the other. And then, because when you have those human intervention somewhere, then we are likely to the integrity of this data is likely to be compromised somehow. But when we have a seamless process and we have all the systems integrated together, then we'll be having it's like we'll have achieved what we are foreseeing as our future in terms of data systems. I think that is at where we come at the end of this. And I would want to delve into a bit of demo just to bring you into the reality of whatever we have been saying, just so that you can have a feel of how our system looks like. Yeah, now I'll be sharing my screen. So this is we have the landing page of our system as it was demonstrated earlier in a snapshot. But now this is the live environment where you can be able to interact. But here I have one step that I have jumped, because there is the user restriction where each person have to have a user account to be able to access this system. So we have the self-service, we have the billing. You will apologies in advance that some of the data will not be able to click on them because of data security issues. Also, we have the Magi app that is connected with the mobile application from the customer side. Also, you will note that if you stay for long within this system, it locks you out. This is another security measure that we have to make sure that in case even you leave the system open, someone will not be able to come and start processing things in your absence. Then you find probably you have requested something and you are not aware. So I will click, for instance, I will click on the GIS side. And then you have the landing page. Also, I talked of the user restriction and the limitation of licensing. You have to be licensed. You have to have an account for you to be able to access this system. And after now we get in, we have where the data has been integrated from the billing side. And you can be able to have a visual. I want to take you to the dashboards just for that, so that you can have a view of how the system is. Can start off with monthly meter, just to see how we are doing the visualization. This is on monthly meter reading. So the beauty is that on my end, I'm able to prepare based on the needs. We are able to prepare these dashboards, and we can be able to present various aspects that someone's need for probably a certain need. So you are able. All this data has been pulled from the billing module, and then we can be able to just have a representation of this. And also something the GIS offers is two aspects. That is, you can have web maps, and also you can have web dashboards that can be accessed from here as long as you have an account. Also, we can go to the profiling. You're able to see another dashboard, and the person who, like my colleagues here who deals with the on-site sanitation, he can be able to interact with this dashboard, and also he can always make any request, and we can be able to update this so that he can have those quick views and quick decisions on fly. By looking at it, he is able to know how he is progressing in his sector. Just to take you back, is that all this you access it using one framework. They have all been put under the ERP. And when you are here, also you can go into the CRM, where you will see all the customer complaints that have been done. And also we use this to assign various tasks. So this is how it looks like. And also we have tried to have most of the dashboard based on the needs. Some of them are high level dashboards that I'm not in a position to show them, to display them to you or to share them with you. I think that forms part of my demo. And over to you, Shuko.
Thank you so much, Timothy, Erastus, and Anthony, for the detailed and elaborate presentation. Really amazing work happening in Nakuru, and super excited to have gotten a lot of the learnings. We will now take a short 5-minute break. We are not saying the webinar has ended. We are just pausing to ensure that everyone gets a chance to grab water, grab tea, stretch a little. And then once we come back, we will start with the question and answer session. We already have a few questions in the chat, but feel free to come back and raise your hand, ask questions, and you can use the raise hand feature on Teams, and then we'll have you ask your question. And for those that have network issues and are not able to come on the call and ask questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And so we'll now take a short 5-minute break and see you all when we get back. Welcome back, everyone. We've had some great first half of the webinar. We heard about the NAWASSCO ERP system that integrates multiple elements and is driving efficiency in the operations of NAWASSCO's work around service delivery and performance management. We've also seen a couple of questions come in the chat, and we'll now take the next session to just have a dedicated question and answer session where we'll have the opportunity to ask the presenters questions that we may have post the presentation. And in addition to the questions in the chat, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll be able to give you the opportunity to ask your question. And we have seen questions coming in from Godfrey from Luapula Water and Abayomi. So Godfrey, do you want to ask your questions or would you like for me to just read them out for you?
You can just read it. This is straightforward, but if I need clarification, we'll be able to ask again. Yeah. Perfect.
Thanks, Godfrey. So Godfrey sent in a question on the meter reading app, and he says, "Hi, on the meter reading app, the field officers download the app on the mobile phones, right? How is the interface for the same app, and does it auto sync with the main ERP system?" And then Godfrey also had another question on that was a question from Godfrey, and then we also had one more question from Abayomi, who was asking what the full meaning of ERP is. So ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning Platform, but I will also allow the NAWASSCO team to come in. And then there was another last question around the costs versus benefits of the ERP. So those are the questions, the first 3 questions we have for our presenters. The first one is on the meter reading, do the field officers download the mobile app on their phones? And how is the interface for the app? And does it auto sync with the main ERP? And then the other one was around cost versus benefits of the ERP system. And once we have responses to this, I will go on to take questions from the people that have raised their hands. So over to you, Timothy and team.
So thank you, Shuko. I will take the first one about the meter reading app. And yes, the field officers have this application installed in their phone. It's a custom app, so it's not available in the Google Play or any other place. So it's more of an in-house app where it is installed within the smartphones. And I don't know if I'm allowed to reshare my screen again just to show how the interface looks like. Chuko?
Yes, you can. Yes, go.
Oh,
Go.
okay. Yes, so I don't know if this is clear enough, but this is the interface of the app. We had taken some screenshot. So after now you log into the app, remember it is user restricted. You have where you can be able to download the tasks that you have been assigned. You can now do an offline, or you can decide to do an online reading. You can also be able to track the task progress and other function. So this is just how the interface looks like. I hope this clears out that first question, and I will hand over to my colleague to take on I think the third one on the business case. But I will mention about the ERP. As Shuko said, this is an enterprise resource planning platform where it brings in various systems together to make sure that there is seamless data flow, that you don't have to move from one to the other, but in one platform you are able to get all the data. Thank you. So over to my colleague, Anto. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Yes, thank you very much. I will handle the question on the cost benefit of the ERP. So first I will try and explain the modules that we have. So the system currently has a module dedicated for technical. This is water production, supply, treatment, and even the sewer. A module dedicated for customers, which handles the billing and CRM. We have a module dedicated for project management. We have a module dedicated for procurement and stores, module dedicated for finance and accounts, module dedicated for HR. So if you look at those, and inside those, there are sub-modules that some go to low income and all this. So the system covers all our business functions. So that is one. Number two, what is unique with our company is our billing cycle. We bill and collect within the month. So our estimates internally, if you do not have an efficient system, we lose an average of 3 million Kenya shillings per day. I think the listeners will convert that into your local currencies. So 3 million per day if we don't have an efficient system. So what the ERP did, it came and deleted the silos that we used to have. Silos made it very difficult for us to support our system. You would find a fault, you don't know whether it is agent A, support B, or the other person. So the blame game would waste a lot of our time. And remember the 3 million shillings per day. Number three, which is possibly the highest benefit for us, is customer satisfaction. My colleagues will remember that the day we rolled this out, we had customers calling in, saying that they don't believe someone has read their meter and they've gotten the bill the same day. It is that good. So for us, that feedback from our customer is worth it any day. The other one, and Shuko I know will agree with me on this, is data accuracy and dependability of data. If you have one system that has controls, that has integrity built into it, you will have data that you can depend on. If you tell someone this is our figure and you get it like this, it is something that you can prove. So I think I hope I've answered your question. Sorry, I didn't get your name. Thank you.
Thank you, Erastus and Anthony. I see we have a hand from Rufai. Rufai, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm Amadou Rufai from Niger Republic. I'm a hydrogeologist acting in water resources and GIS. So I appreciate your platform, how you manage all the water infrastructure and any other information concerning water services. But I want to know exactly if with your platform we can manage the water resources like the different aquifer, for example, in the politics of integrated water resources management, you have to be able to know how we exploit our resources, to know if we are on over exploitation or under exploitation, so that to make advocacy in quality and quantity concerning the water resources based on the growth of the population. So I don't know, that's just to know about this. Over.
Thank you, Rufai. We'll take another question from Kelvin, and then we'll have the presenter's answer. Kelvin?
Hi, Shuko, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
All right. My question is in relation to the audit trail. The system, knowing that it will be integrated with other systems, and maybe without knowing, someone may just decide to use your account and make some transactions. What features have you put in place probably to take into consideration those issues that are related to audit trail, so that someone does not probably take advantage of such a situation? The second one also is more also related, but I would also want you to speak to issues related to hacking. How secure are we? Probably that it should be, there could be some features that are cloud-based and the like. And it will be good for you to speak to that. Otherwise, I'm Kelvin from Northwestern Water, Zambia.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelvin, for those questions. And so I will pass back the mic to the presenters. So we had a question from Rufai around resource exploitation, and then we had two questions from Kelvin around, one, the audit trail, and whether the system has those features, and then the last question around how hacking and how the system addresses that. So Anthony and team, over.
Thank you, Rufai, for your question. And if on how we can utilize the system in ensuring that we are managing our water resources, I think that this has not been our mandate for. This is not within our mandate, but maybe what I would mention is that as a utility, also we have delved into the business of trying just to monitor the groundwater, so that we can, we have a module on technical that we do monitor the groundwater fluctuations within our wells, so that we can know when the aquifer is depleting and how and when it is we can be able to estimate the recharge, and we are also in a process of one of our main aquifers. We are in a process of gazetting this in collaboration with other stakeholders who are mandated with this responsibility, but also we want to be part, because this is where we get this resource to serve our customers. I hope I have answered. And I pass for the next question to my colleague to take you through.
Yes, thank you very much. I will start with the questions from Kelvin. On one, the audit trail. Yes, the system has an audit trail. It captures each and every transaction and each and every click that you do. And we normally use this to audit the system, both internally here and also when you have external auditors. On cybersecurity and hacking, Kelvin, of course, this is a reality, and it is something that should be in everybody's mind. You're only safe until the day you're caught. So for us, we first developed the policy on minimum requirements. We deployed some protection levels in terms of firewalls. And to go further, we have a live replication of the ERP in another cloud. So just in case any of the breaches are, if you're breached in any of those, then there is a backup for us to restore. There's also another question from Kevin. Deployment model, whether we use hybrid. And the next question is a system able to link with other systems like finance? Kelvin, as we demonstrated earlier, our billing system, CRM, technical, finance, and HR all sit in one. They are different in terms of design and development, but they are fully integrated. So that data moves, if there is a sale made by the commercial department, the sales figures are populated in finance without human intervention. Shuko, I also had some questions from Dr. Victoria, asking, is the NAWASSCO ERP customized, and can it be used elsewhere?
We'll take those questions, Anthony.
Sorry,
we'll take those questions. So we have one more question from Isaac, and then I'll move to the questions in the chat from Dr. Victoria, Mwaura, and Ashmeet. So Isaac, I saw your hand up. Feel free to ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you for this webinar. I'm from Liberia. One of my colleagues, I am the Watch Information Manager at the Watch Commission in Liberia. One of my colleagues attended this, the first meeting, I think in Zambia, UGS King, where he's now with another project. I wanted to ask about the developer for this system, whether we could get in contact with the developer of the system and then a tailor system for us as a country. It might not, the functionality might not be like yours, but to develop something, a country monitoring system for Liberia to monitor media projects, because we are only regulating, we are not implementing as you do. So I just wanted to ask this question, whether there's the possibility for this.
Thank you, Isaac, for that question. So I will I'll ask two more questions from the chat. Kelvin, I see your hand up. I'll come to you. So there were two questions from Dr. Victoria, who wanted to know whether the NAWASSCO ERP is customized and can it be used elsewhere by other utilities. And then her second question was, can it be used in prepaid meter systems? And then Mwaura had one question on how many developers or software service providers are in play in this ERP. So we have four questions from three participants, one from Isaac. I think, and all of them are a little similar. they are all around the developers, whether it's customizable. And so I will pass those questions to you, Anthony, and team.
I'll do Isaac Toby's question. How can we get the developer of the system? I think that one we can, Shuko, you can share our address so that you can have a communication and link Isaac with the system developer. Then I'll answer the prepaid water from Dr. Victoria. Yes, we have communal water standpipes in Kenya, which we've automated and are using prepaid meters. This one we've been able to integrate with the ERP system. So it's functional. It's something that can be done. Thank you. I'll invite my colleague to Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Timothy. I'll answer question 1 from Victoria. On Dr. Victoria, sorry. Is the ERP customized? Yes, the ERP is customized, and it can be used in other utilities. There was a question on how many developers are on site. We only have one developer. During the deployment in 2019, we had one developer who developed the PicPay and is also a licensed Microsoft reseller. So they were able to give us one solution during the time to cover all. So we have one developer on site. Shuko?
Thank you. And I think the latter part was on software service providers. So the first part of the question was on how many developers, and then the latter part was on software service how many software service providers are at play. Anthony?
Yes. Thank you, Shuko. How many service providers are at play? For how we handled ours is we developed an SLA. So the SLA captured all the functions in the ERP and how to maintain them. This service provider gives us SMSs, does for us the emails in terms of billing, does the system support, does the security, does the data protection, and does the replication. So we have one provider that gives us all that. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. We have 2 more questions from Ashmit and Marshall, and then I'll come to Kelvin. So Ashmit was asking whether there are any potential risks of using this system, and how did you develop the capacity to manage it? And then Marshall asked the question on, you mentioned of using collection agencies for customer payments. Kindly clarify if the post-billing is standalone or is integrated to Microsoft Dynamics. If it's post-paid, is standalone, how are the collections from third-party captured in both post-paid and Microsoft Dynamics? So those are the 2 questions in the chat. And Kelvin, feel free to unmute and ask your question. Please keep it short and just ask your question directly. And once those 3 are up, Anthony, feel free to chime in for responses. Kelvin?
Okay, thank you. You're speaking to Herman Msonda, the Assistant IT Officer here in Zambia at Northwestern Water. So my question was in regards to the ERP. I just wanted to understand if it's one package with all these features that have been presented. And my main interest on one of the features is the GIS. Is the GIS part of this ERP, or is it a standalone feature that has an integration with the main ERP? Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Yes, thank you for the questions. We'll start with Ashmit. Any potential risks of using this system, and how did you develop capacity? The risk, if we normally do risk profiles in this company every year, and the risk for us is possibly, you see, that one resource that is sitting on the cloud. So for us, if there was a risk that was to materialize where the cloud service is not available, and then our backup server, which is also cloud-based, is not available, then what next? So for us, we are strategizing on having a third level on-premise or near our office, so that if that risk materializes, whether the service, the host for the server is not available, or the system provider is not available, then that can be activated. On Marshall asked about collection agencies. For us, we have the one that gives us 30%, or actually 40% of our revenues is M-Pesa. I don't know whether you are familiar with M-Pesa. That is one of our collection agencies. Then we have 3 banks that do the rest. So the level of integration that we have with M-Pesa and the banks is you get validated. As you want to pay your water, first it is queried. So there is an interaction between the banking system or M-Pesa system to our server for validation, then you pay. So the bank system is standalone, but there is an active integration through APIs for the banks and M-Pesa and to us. I hope that I have answered. I think Shuko, my colleague, I can take for my colleague from Zambia, the Northwestern, asking about whether it was one package, including GIS, and no, the system we acquired it in 2019. The GIS is 1.5 years old. So the GIS came as an add-on, but full integration to the ERP. Thank you, Shuko.
Thanks, Anthony. I see we have a hand from Zamiwe. So we'll have Zamiwe, and then we'll also take a few questions from the chat. Zamiwe. Okay, as Zamiwe is coming on to speak, there are a couple of questions, and I think these are from Zamiwe in the chat, where Zamiwe was asking, what development model does the system use? Is it hybrid? And then is the system able to link with other systems like finance? And I think that Anthony had covered these questions, that they're like all of them are interlinked and they work collectively together. And then we had a question from Sangisha Daka, who was asking whether the system is cloud-based or on premise. Do we have any other questions from the house, like anyone who would like to ask, to come off mute and ask, before I pass it on to the Nakuru team? Okay, so I'll add one more question to the list, Anthony, and this is from Guillaume, and it's a great study. I would like to know the level of interoperability of your ERP system with external data platforms of the national digital ecosystem. So I will pause here, Anthony and team, if you can take on those questions, and then we'll come back for the last round of questions. Anthony?
Yes, thank you, Shuko. So I think the participants are really interested on whether it's cloud or on-premise. For us, it is cloud, but I've explained the risk. We are probably going to have a third level on on-premise just in case, in terms of risk management. There is a question from Zamiwe, is the ERP licensed? Is it per module or per unit? I think Zamiwe, how Microsoft license or cost their products is they use something called BREP. So I think I will invite you to possibly look at that separately so that I don't mention about ours here. Sorry. The next question was whether it is a hybrid or fully on-premise or on cloud. For us, it is fully on cloud for now. Shoko, I hope I've answered all of them.
Yes, so there was another question as to whether how interoperable the ERP system is with external data platforms of the national digital ecosystem.
Thank you, Shoko. Sorry, I've forgotten that one. A good example is, if you remember our presentation, there was a point where we showed you a portal of how we were ranked the first in 2023. That is a live portal from our Water Services Regulatory Board. This is the regulator of water in Kenya. So our system and their system exchange data, and we share across platforms. The other level where we share data is, of course, with our owners, which is the county government of Nakuru, and the other stakeholders around the water sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony and team. We have more questions in the chat, and thank you for keeping the questions coming. We have a question from Golden. Great presentation. How can the system be used with regards to sanitation survey data and shift flow diagram? And then Jife asked a question around how long did it take to transition from the old system to this system, and what challenges were encountered during the process? I will also take on one more question, I think from Atta, and the ERP system presented is focused on the sanitation system. Is it possible to have a more comprehensive ERP dedicated to multi-sector regulators? And I would take on that after you respond, Anthony. And then the other question was, is this system an online? And I think you have answered the first part. The question is whether it's online, cloud-based, and do you pay monthly fees for its use? And then what does your experience say about the degree of dependency on software suppliers? So we have those questions coming in the chat, and Anthony, I'll pass it on to you, and then I'll respond to the first question from Atta. Anthony and team, over.
Thank you, Shuko. I'll take the question on Golden Manyanga. How can the system be used with regard to sanitation survey data and sheet flow diagram? For the sanitation survey, we are currently exploring ways. Yes, it can be used because this will be just data collection like mobile meter reading. It's only that will enhance the schema or the definitions of the data that will be collecting. Therefore, that is very much possible with the ERP system. That is the next step where we talked of the gaps that we are looking at. On sheet flow diagram, this one I think the system no currently, but that is something we can think of because the current architecture of the sheet flow diagram I think has been developed by Susanna or the Susanna.org, whereby they've limited how the sheet flow, what the parameters of what you need to put into the platform for you to give it a sheet flow diagram. However, for collection of all data that is required for the development of the sheet flow diagram, the system can be able to do that. I think hand over to Anthony.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Start with the first one. Sorry for that. How was the implementation and what were the lessons? For us, we did module by module. We started with the module that brings us money, that is the commercial one, and then the rest followed. We utilized champions. We asked each department to give us a champion that would be leading the process. And those were the people that were constantly in touch with the developer, making corrections, making feedback, so that the system was developed as we wanted. So the champions was a game changer for us. There was also a lesson that we learned that we were not ready for, infrastructure survey, like how is your infrastructure? How old are your machines? How old are your routers? How is your LAN? Those are things that we learned as we went, because we were forced to invest in some infrastructure development in order for us to support this. And of course, the most important thing in all this was training. Training was continuous, and that also contributed a lot to the success of this. Sorry. There's a question about fees, whether it is monthly or annual. Our fees we pay annually, and it is covered in the service level agreement between our company and the software developer. So the SLA, of course, depending on your needs, it is you to design it the way you want. For us, is quite comprehensive, because remember during the presentation we talked about silos. We really wanted to eliminate silos in our product. Shuko, there's another question on dependency on software suppliers. Dependency, I think it's more of a collaboration, because we require the software for our business to be more efficient. We require the software to have data that you can depend on. We require the software for our customers, most importantly, to fill our services. So how we work with our developer is, there's a clear SLA that I've mentioned. Everybody has their role, and it is a collaboration between us and them. I would not call it a dependency on as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony and team. And there was a question from Atta, which was around, is it possible to have more comprehensive ERP dedicated to multi-sector regulators? And so the webinar series is a mix of multiple data systems. The first series was on the NAWASSCO, which is a multi-sector integrated regulatory platform, and then we move to IDAMS, then we have NAWASSCO, and so it's a mix of regulatory and utility tools. And so my colleagues will put in the chat the schedule of all the webinars, which you can find on our website, but yeah, I'll allow my colleagues to put it in the chat. And so you will see that in the upcoming webinars, we have a couple of mixes, and so you could have a look at which ones are coming next. So thank you all for the questions. We have so many questions coming in, but I know that we're also pressed for time, and we have, a couple of next steps, and you will hear in the next steps that there are, ideas on how to drive these further discussions. And so I am tempted to take on 2 last questions and then invite Chisanga to give us the next steps just before we close. So there were 2 questions, one from Nutu and another from Barbara. So Nutu asked whether the system supports any AI or machine learning capabilities. And then Barbara asked, how is the offline data collected? Is the data uploaded to the system when online? And please give an example. So those were the 2 questions. So Anthony and team, over to you. And then we'll have Chisanga give us the next steps after that.
Thank you, Shuko. You too, does the system support AI or machine learning capabilities? For NAWASSCO, we haven't had that yet, but I know that one of our sister companies in Kisumu have experimented on business intelligence, and I think Mombasa. So it is something that people have tried, but for us, we haven't tried it yet. But the systems that they use, both the two companies I've mentioned, is the same with ours. So the answer is yes. Barbara, how is offline data collected, and does the system upload when? Yeah. So a good example for us is the meter reading that my colleague Erastus talked about. The app is designed to work on offline and online modes, mainly because of internet challenges. So if a field officer is in the field and then there is a fluctuation of internet or for any other reason or a battery issue or something with the phone, it will keep the data locally on the phone, but it will keep prompting for connectivity. So it's the meter reader or the field officer who will select that today I want to work on offline mode or online mode. Offline mode keeps the data on the device. Once the internet is established, then it uploads the data immediately. On the online mode, that is, it keeps prompting the server continuously for connection until it gets, then it sends. Chuko, thank you.
Thanks, Anthony, and thank you all for the amazing questions. Very interactive session. We still have a lot more questions in the chat, but we'll provide some guidance on how those could be answered going forward. But we also have a lot of webinars coming up, lined up for everyone. And so to take us in the next round as we close, I will hand over to Chisanga from ESAWAS to give us the next steps. Chisanga.
Thank you, Shuko, and a big thank you to all presenters and attendees. As mentioned, we'll be sharing the recording of today's webinar along with additional resources related to the ERP system shortly. I encourage you to explore these materials and stay engaged with us as we continue this series of webinars. We have designed this series of webinars to spotlight innovative data systems in the water and sanitation sector. So for those interested in implementing similar systems within your operations, ESAWAS, in collaboration with our partners, can offer technical assistance to guide you through the process. So please do feel free to reach out for tailored support, and we would be very happy to assist. I would also just like to say thank you for your feedback on the ERP system that we just shared. And we also welcome any thoughts on how it could be applied in your context. I realized in the Q&A that there were a number of questions that people were concerned regarding to applying them to their context. So please continue to share your insights and questions. And we invite you to stay connected with us for future discussions. Finally, please be sure to join us for upcoming sessions in this series. We shall be sharing them on our website, sawas.org, as well as the Dev-Afrique website. And we will continue to explore more impactful solutions. And just want to say thank you once again for your time, and we look forward to further collaboration. Thank you. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Chisanga, and super excited. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to our speakers. As Chisanga mentioned, we will have the outputs shared, and then feel free to keep engaging in the chat. We'll have the presenters respond to questions in the chat, and then we also encourage you to join the GWOPA platform, because that's the platform that we'll continue to use with post post-webinar discussions, and a lot of the topics that were generated here will be used on the platform to further discussions across board. And we'll also share an output document summarizing the Q&A from this session. Thank you all once again to all our speakers, and most importantly to you, our participants, for joining today's session and making it a successful webinar. Your engagement is critical to advancing sanitation and water data systems, and we hope that you found this session really valuable. My colleagues post this will also share a feedback link with you, just so that you could share any feedback on how the webinar could be improved going forward. We appreciate your participation and looking forward to future collaborations. Have a great day.